Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Coach Craig's Sports. Today is Tuesday, so that means it's the waiver wire episode. This time it's going to be for Week 16. So at this point in time in your season, you're either in the second round of the fantasy football playoffs or the first round. Maybe you had the bye in the first round, or your league doesn't start until Week 16 for the playoffs. But either way, if you're watching this video, I still assume that you are alive in the playoffs and well. Obviously, there are some of you that are still waiting on the performances of players tonight, but once again, thank you for joining me, and congratulations for making it this far. So we're going to start off with some waivers for this week. Typically, these guys are 50% or less rostered on both ESPN and Yahoo. If there's a player in your league that's available that is not on my list that you have a question about, feel free to leave a comment down below, and I'll get back to you as quickly as possible as well. But without further ado, we're going to start off with Mr. Justin Fields, who obviously played last night, was 26 out of 39, 285 yards, the one touchdown at the very end of the game, and then 35 yards rushing. He had 18.9 points in Week 15. This is all 6-point per passing touchdown leagues. And he is rostered in 26% of ESPN and 26% of Yahoo leagues, so a pretty good chance that he's out there. And at this point, Justin Fields, he has that upside with the rushing ability. Hopefully Matt Nagy's not calling plays again because he's terrible, but if they get Bill Lazor back, it's going to be better for him next week. And he has a very favorable schedule the next 3 weeks. Seattle Seahawks, New York Giants, and the Minnesota Vikings. 3 of the best defenses you could play against if you're a quarterback. So Justin Fields may be somebody that helps you win in your playoff matchups if you really need a quarterback. Then we're going to mention Jimmy Garoppolo once again. He was 18 out of 23 this past week, 235 yards, 1 touchdown, 0 interceptions. He had 4 yards rushing as well, 15.8 points in Week 15, so not the best performance overall there. Rostered in 21% ESPN leagues, 41% Yahoo leagues. He goes against the Tennessee Titans, the Houston Texans, and the Los Angeles Rams. So the Titans and the Texans both are very good matchups for him overall. Maybe in the Houston one, maybe a little bit more that they try to run the ball, but at least against this week, against the Titans, they've been okay against the run. So maybe Jimmy Garoppolo is going to have to throw the ball just a little bit more, and the Titans have not been good against the pass by any means this season. So Jimmy Garoppolo, if you need somebody to start this week, definitely in play. Then we're going to move over to a running back in Ronald Jones. So he actually played 30% of the snaps this past week. Doesn't sound like a lot, but playing behind Leonard Fournette. Leonard Fournette ended up getting hurt in this game. They said it's not severe injury, but it is a hamstring injury, so I would expect him to miss this week regardless. Ronald Jones had 8 carries for 63 yards against a pretty good New Orleans Saints rush defense, so that is a very positive sign right there. He had 2 targets, caught both of them, which is kind of a surprise for Ronald Jones when you think about his hands not being the best, but he had 8 yards as well there. 9.1 points in Week 15. He is rostered in 23% ESPN leagues, 36% Yahoo leagues. Decent chance that he's still out there. Next 3 games that he has is against the Carolina Panthers, which is an okay matchup. The New York Jets, which is a very, very good matchup if Leonard Fournette ends up missing 2 weeks, and then the Panthers once again. So Ronald Jones, looking at a guy that could be a starting running back for your team this week overall, if Leonard Fournette is unable to go, which I do assume is going to be the case for this week. Then we'll move over to another running back. I got Ameer Abdullah up here as well. 53% of snaps is what he played this past week. 4 carries, 7 yards. That's not really why we're looking at him. It's more in the receiving aspect. 4 targets, 4 receptions, 48 yards. He did score a touchdown in there too as well. I do not have that listed. I believe it was a receiving touchdown. But he had 15.5 points in Week 15. Rostered in 7% of ESPN leagues, 8% of Yahoo leagues. So if you're in a PPR league, this is a guy to go out and target right now because he's a guy that you can fill in if you need a spot to fill in, whether it's a running back, a flex spot, anything like that. He's going to offer a little bit of upside as well, especially going against Tampa Bay Buccaneers this week, who have allowed a decent amount of PPR points to running backs, especially pass-catching running backs so far this season. Then after that, they had New Orleans Saints, which is okay matchup, and then we got Tampa Bay once again. And obviously, we know Christian McCaffrey's not coming back, so Ameer Abdullah, you can probably play him this week if you really need to do so, maybe next week. And then if you have that third week, that dreaded Week 18 championship game, Ameer Abdullah could be somebody that you use in that matchup as well. Then we're going to talk about our handcuff running backs once again. So we got Devontae Booker. He's rostered in 25% ESPN leagues, 23% Yahoo leagues. Pretty good chance that he's still out there. Saquon Barkley does not look good at this point in time. Devontae Booker has actually been more efficient than him the last couple of games, so maybe they shut Saquon down. They just shut Daniel Jones down, so it's definitely a possibility. So Devontae Booker could be a guy, maybe not this week, but in the next week or the week after that, if you're still playing by that point in time, Devontae Booker could be a guy that helps you out because it doesn't really make sense to keep running Saquon out there if you already shut you down your franchise quarterback, if you want to call Daniel Jones that. Then we have Khalil Herbert, who actually played a decent amount towards the end of last night. It looked like David Montgomery got a little banged up, but nothing serious at this point in time. If we hear otherwise, Khalil Herbert's definitely going to be somebody that you want to pick up. He's rostered in 16% of ESPN leagues, 17% of Yahoo leagues, so pretty good chance that he's still out there. Samaje Perine, definitely somebody to look at again this week. Joe Mixon got a little bit banged up towards the end of the game as well. Rostered in 9% of ESPN leagues, 13% of Yahoo leagues, so definitely a guy that you want to pick up and stash, especially if you are that Joe Mixon owner. Then we had Kadarius Johnson. Looks like people kind of listened last week and they picked him up as well. Kareem Hunt missed last week, obviously. If he's out once again this week, Kadarius Johnson's the guy that you want to have as a valuable handcuff. Roster in 26% ESPN leagues, 23% Yahoo leagues. Decent chance that he's out there. And then last but not least, we got Kenny Nwangu once again. Roster 1% of leagues. We saw him look actually pretty decent on the couple carries that he had last night. So, if God forbid something happens to Dalvin Cook or Alexander Madison does not make his way back from the COVID list, Kenny Nwangu could be a valuable player in the fantasy playoffs. We'll get moved over to the wide receivers. So we're going to talk about Jamison Crowder. He hasn't been doing quite as well as we expected the last couple of weeks, but he's playing a lot. He's got 89% of snaps, 8 targets, 5 receptions, 40 yards. He had 9 points in PPR for week 15. Roster in about 30% of leagues between both ESPN and Yahoo. Goes against the Jaguars this week, which is a pretty good matchup as well. Tampa Bay after that, and then Buffalo. So pretty good stretch of games outside of that Buffalo one for the next 3 weeks, which is, our fantasy playoffs. So if you really need a wide receiver, gives you a little bit of a floor, has a little bit of upside, but not too much, Jamison Crowder could be your guy. So this is going to be an interesting one. Is Kadarius Toney. He did not play in week 15. Obviously, he was on the COVID list. He's been dealing with some injuries as well. Sounds like he has a chance to play in week 16. Sterling Shepard got hurt. He's done for the year. So now Kadarius Toney jumps right back in to that primary wide receiver, primary slot role. Maybe it works out, maybe it doesn't. But definitely a guy that you want to pick up and stash on the end of your bench. Rostered in about 25% of ESPN and Yahoo leagues. Next 3 games are against the Eagles, the Bears, and the Washington football team. 3 favorable matchups as well. So maybe you pick him up this week, stash him on your bench, see if he does anything. And then next week, just throw him out there against the Bears, and maybe it just pans out very well for you overall. Then we got Amon-Ra St. Brown once again. He played 69% of snaps this past week, 11 targets, so 3 weeks in a row that he's had double-digit targets. He had 8 receptions for 90 yards and a touchdown, 23.5 points in week 15. Amon-Ra, he just kind of goes out there quietly, keeps producing, so not too much else we can say about him at this point in time. He's rostered in 24% of ESPN leagues, 30% of Yahoo leagues. Goes against the Atlanta Falcons this week, which is a very favorable matchup. The big news here is to watch out for Jared Goff. He was placed on the COVID list. We'll see if he ends up playing or not. If it's Tim Boyle, not really super excited about Amon-Ra St. Brown, but if Jared Goff's back, I think it's a pretty good matchup for him once again, and a guy that you want to roll out there this week. Then you get Seattle after that, and then Green Bay at the end of the season. Seattle's obviously another good matchup as well. And then I believe the last wide receiver that we do have on this list is Gabriel Davis. Played 90% of snaps this past week, 7 targets, 5 receptions, 85 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So Gabriel Davis, if you picked him up last week, you were pretty happy. If you picked him up and you started him, you're even happier. Doesn't look like a lot of people did it, honestly, though. But he had 25.5 points in week 15. Roster in 13% ESPN leagues, 19% of Yahoo leagues. Good chance that he's out there. If he's out there in your league, go out and grab him right now. Goes against the Patriots this week. Not the best matchup in the world, but, J.C. Jackson's going to be on Stephon Diggs. So he's going to draw Jalen Mills in coverage most likely, which is a little bit more favorable matchup. Goes against the Atlanta Falcons and the New York Jets after that. 2 cupcake matchups overall. So Gabriel Davis, definitely a guy that could help you out in the playoffs, especially if Emmanuel Sanders doesn't come back, which I'm not counting on at this point in time. Then we have one lone tight end again, and it's Gerald Everett for me, and he plays tonight, so we don't know his Week 15 statistics, obviously, because he still hasn't played yet. And he's rostered in 19% ESPN leagues, 37% of Yahoo leagues. Next 3 games he's got is against the Chicago Bears, who have been very, very hit or miss against tight ends this year. There's been some big performances against them, and then some other performances that were not so good. So he could be on the good end of that. Then we got the Detroit Lions, who were pretty much middle of the pack, and then the Arizona Cardinals, who have been tough on tight ends. But Gerald Everett, in terms of the guys that are not very heavily rostered, Gerald Everett is a guy that I'm interested in once again this week. Then last but not least, we got the defenses. So I got 2 defenses this week since I'm listing the 3 games remaining for each one. The Philadelphia Eagles rostered in 38% of ESPN leagues, 50% of Yahoo leagues. Decent chance that they're out there, but it's kind of 50-50 on Yahoo at least. They obviously play the Washington football team tonight. A lot of people picked them up for that matchup. Maybe they end up dropping them after this week, and they're like, oh, this other team's got a better matchup. But hey, the Eagles play the Giants next week, and the Giants are not good at this point in time. They play a Washington football team once again, and then Dallas at the end of the year. So obviously that Dallas game's not the most favorable, but the other 2 matchups are going to be pretty good for them overall. Then last but not least, we have the Los Angeles Chargers roster in 33% of ESPN leagues, 50% of Yahoo leagues. Their next 3 games, Houston Texans, Denver Broncos, Las Vegas Raiders. So obviously the Texans are a good matchup there. As a Texans fan, it hurts me to say it, but not a good team by overall at this point in time, especially Davis Mills at the quarterback position. Denver Broncos, Their offense has not been very explosive this year. Obviously, Teddy Bridgewater got knocked out last week. Hopefully, everything's okay for him personally. But now we have Drew Lock in there at quarterback. He is turnover prone as well. Maybe he starts that game against the Chargers as well. He has shown some flashes. He can do a lot of things, but he also is turnover prone as well. And then last but not least, they had the Las Vegas Raiders, who may or may not be playing for anything at that point in time. So Los Angeles Chargers, definitely a defense that I'm considering picking up and at least using for the next 2 weeks overall. But with that being said, that's a quick little rundown on the waivers for week 16. As always, if you guys have any other questions related to waivers, be sure to leave them down in the comments and I'll get back to you as quickly as possible. But with that being said, if you are new to my channel, please consider subscribing. Definitely would appreciate it. It helps to build the community that we're trying to build here at Coach Craig Sports, which is one that's truly for you, the viewers, helping you with your fantasy football, helping you with your DFS, whether it's NFL or NBA. And then with that being said, if you are a new or current subscriber who is yet to do so, also hit that notification bell down below. It's going to let you know every single time I post up a new video. Like I've been saying, I post up 4 or 5 videos a week related to fantasy football or NFL DFS content, as well as daily NBA DFS videos. So if you're into any of that content at all, which I'm guessing you're at least into the fantasy football side since you're watching this video, make sure that you're subscribed. Make sure that you have the notification bell turned on so you never miss a beat. But with that being said, that's all I have for today's video. Hopefully you all enjoyed. And then last but not least, special shout out to each and every one of you watching today's video. I truly do appreciate you taking the time out of your day to watch this video. Definitely means a lot to me, and I hope each and every one of you has a great rest of your day.